Well, I was reading the Nag Hammadi library on my lunch hour. I worked at a hardware store about 20 years ago, and I was out in my van, and that was around the time, I guess, when Dan Brown's book, The Da Vinci Code, had come out. And in his book, he states that a lot of what he got about Jesus being married to Mary Magdalene and having a son was influenced by the Nag Hammadi library. And so before I bought Dan Brown's book, The Da Vinci Code, I went and bought the Nag Hammadi library, which is a big thick book, like 1.5 inches thick or so. And I thought, I'm going to read this first before I read his book and see if I reach the same conclusions that he did. Then I'll read his book and see how they compare. And so when I read the Nag Hammadi library, I was reading this part about a high place that was, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was about a high place up on a ridge, and the earth was visible from there, and you could see it out in space. And when I read that, it was like something popped open in my mind, and this flood of memories just came back. And I remembered standing on the edge of a crater, and I believe it was on the moon. And this was before I was incarnated in a human body. I was standing there, and there was a gray being beside me, and he was telling me that I had to go down there. And we were on this high place looking out, and I could see the earth hanging in space like a big beach ball. And I remember arguing with him, telling him I didn't want to go. And anyway, later when I became a Christian, I remember reading the scripture about how the devil took Jesus up to a high place and showed him all the kingdoms of the earth after he'd done this 40-day and 40-night fast. And the devil told him, I will give all this to you if you do one act of worship to me. Well, that high place, I believe, may have been this place that I remember, where I was standing on the edge of this crater looking out at the earth, because how else could you see all the kingdoms of the earth? You'd have to be pretty high up, you know. And so that's how I felt this was the same place. And I think it's kind of like a launching pad where they send you, where they send souls to earth. That's where it begins. They show you the earth and tell you you have to go down there. And so I was arguing with this being, and I believe his name was Rigel. And I told him I didn't want to go. And he said, well, you have to go. He said, it's been decreed by the higher ups. So I said to him, well, what if I say no? What if I don't go? And he said, well, believe me, there's a lot worse places they could send you than Earth. You know? And I took that as like a personal threat that I had to agree to this. And he said, why don't you want to go? And I said, because I've heard so many horrible things about Earth, and I just don't have any interest in going there at all. And when I remembered that I had said that, it then occurred to me that I had heard so many horrible things about Earth meant that this is my first incarnation here, that I've never been here before. Otherwise I would have said, well, I know so many horrible things, you know. So that's how I came to the conclusion that this life that I'm in now is my first incarnation here. So this being told me, he said, well, he said, there's a guy that just has returned from a life on Earth. And he said, maybe if you talk to him, it'll alleviate some of your fear. And so I said, oh, well, okay. And so immediately I was transported into this room. It was like a barren room, nothing on the walls, no furniture except for one chair in the middle of the floor. And it was dimly lit. And this guy was sitting in the chair with his head hung low, and he just looked so sad. And I walked up to him and I said, I understand you just came back from Earth. And he looked at me and he just kind of nodded. And I said, well, what was it like? I said, was it good or was it bad? And he said, it's kind of a bit of both. And I said, well, is it more good than bad or more bad than good? Or how is it? And he said, well, I'm really not the right person to be asking this to. And I said, well, let me put it this way. If you had to go back, would you go? And he said, well, that's the thing. He says, I do have to go back. And I said, why? And he said, because I didn't complete my mission there. And at that point, it just suddenly occurred to me that he'd killed himself, that he never made it through his incarnation on Earth. And immediately after I stepped back from him, I was back on the ridge with this gray being beside me again. And he said, did you talk to him? And I said, oh yeah. And he said, well, did he alleviate your fears? And I said, no. I said, if anything, he made me even more fearful of going. So this being said to me, he said, if you he said, I'm going to, let's see. No, I said, if I decide to go there, will you come and check on me every now and then? And he said, yes. He says, I will do that. And I said, well, then I guess I'll go. And when I said that, I agreed to it. And that was it. Then I was committed. I had to go. So it turns out that this being that said he would come and visit me ended up being the leader in the incidents I had. And that was how he kept his part of the agreement, that he would come and check on me every now and then. And he did. He checked on me when I was a child, when I was a toddler. I remember him coming into my bedroom one day, and so it all kind of fits together, you know, because I'd wondered, why me when these incidents happened to me? Why me? And when I remembered that, then I knew why. It was because I'd asked him to.
Hello, I am Encineri Constantine. Please allow me to introduce myself. This is my story, and it is one that is strange, but it happened. I call it the beginning. In the beginning, I was in a black void, and I was starting to become more aware of myself. I didn't know what I was just yet, but I would become more aware of myself. So I'm looking at myself and realize that I'm a spirit or a soul, and I'm in this place that's a black void. I'm looking around and all I see is eternal darkness. It just stretched on and on, no matter which direction I looked. There was no sense of time, or sickness, or death in this place. You are simply just raw being, a spirit. You have no religion, no identity, just pure spirit. And so I would look around at my hands, if you can call it that, my arms, and I was like this glowing, dull glowing spirit being. As I became more aware, or consciously aware of my being, I'm looking around in this dark place, the void, the nothing. And as I'm doing this, from the corner of my eye, I see a shining bright white light, and it's getting closer. It's just coming right out of the darkness. And a voice told me, or called out to me, do not look my way. You cannot look at me just yet. And it's the shining being, the shining one as I call it, approaching me from the corner of my eye. Now this shining one, I cannot describe the voice other than to say that the voice was that of a male and female. It's hard to explain that. So I was able to eventually turn to look at the shining one, and even in my spirit form, this shining being was so bright that I would kind of like bring my spiritual form or hands up to my eyes, and then eventually I didn't have to do that. Well, this shining one started talking with me, telling me about things. I was told about a former life that I had lived, and it is one that wasn't quite pleasant. So excuse me for not talking about it, because I don't know if it's true or not. I'll explain later my feelings about this shining one and the other being that I met before coming into this world. So the shining one told me that I can choose my parents. And yet it seemed like I really didn't get to choose my parents. I also had questions because I'm more consciously aware now that my spirit, my soul is mindfully awake. So I wanted to ask questions, but the spirit being said I was going to be going into the world. I forgot the name that she had, this shining one had for the earth. So I'll just let that be. Well, the shining one told me I would be going into the world, and that my purpose in life would be to help others and to save people. But at the same time, I would live a life of suffering, which I didn't understand why that would be. Why do I have to suffer? Yet knowingly go into the world, knowing that's what my supposed fate, my destiny is going to be. And let alone, who are these people that the Shining One's talking about? It was at this moment that the Shining One pointed to an area in this black void. And I looked over, and a pin dot prick, it started out just from a pin dot of light appeared, but it expanded outwards into a perfect circle. The rim was glowing white light, and I was told to go up to it and look. And so I did. I could see the stars and the earth It was beautiful. And the Shining One came up to me and pointed at the earth and told me that's where people live. That would be going into the world to help people out and live this life of suffering. Yet I did not want to go. I kind of tried to inform the Shining One that I didn't want to go. I was like, hey, do I have to go? I felt forced to incarnate or to come into the world of material matter. I didn't want to go. I was told about some terrible things, but that would be in this world to help people out and stuff and live a life of suffering, in which I did and somewhat still continue to do. So the Shining One, after telling me all this, started to leave, but I didn't have my questions answered. But the Shining One had left, which I thought was rude. Wasn't very helpful at all. So I stood there looking into this portal or circle of light. I'm looking at the stars and the earth. I'm just standing there. Now, like I said, there's no time in this black void. So for however long I was standing there looking at the earth, it could have been an easy 100 years have already passed by in the material world of the earth and stars. So I could have been standing there for what seemed just like a few minutes in the black void. Could have been 100 years gone by easily on earth. But I decided to lean out. I leaned into the circle and I looked up and outwards to see what was on the other side of this circle of light. And I'm seeing nothing but stars all around the circle. It was really strange. That's why I call it a portal. Perhaps a doorway of interdimensional qualities. So I leaned back inside and I started walking away from this portal because I was like thinking, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to enter it and go into the world. That's when I had turned around to start walking away. I seen the other being. It was a reptilian man. Arms, legs, upper chest, feet, hands, head. Very muscular, but his body was covered in scales. It was like reptile. Reptilian man. And he was scary looking, so I dropped down and I was fearful. So I dropped down in fear. I cowered down. But the being just stood there. So I rose back up to where I was standing. I don't remember if the being ever said anything, but he just stood there and stared. He had a blackish, somewhat gray scales covering his entire body. So I turned back to look at the portal, thinking I had no choice but to enter. There it was, the earth and stars. I looked back and the being was gone. That reptilian man was nowhere to be seen, and it was nothing but black void. Just nothing. So looking back into the portal at the world of material matter, I notice when I'm close to the portal that I was starting to experience emotions and more thoughts. Whereas when I first became aware of my spirit being, I didn't have any of that. So there's something about the material world where we have emotions and the capabilities to think, to have intelligence. And yet I didn't want to go down there into the earth. Like I said, I felt like I was being forced to. The decision was already made for me, and yet it was almost as if I was being told I had free will to think for myself. My life already planned and laid out for me. So I went through it. And now I find myself floating amongst the stars. Just floating. A spirit just floating among the stars. And now I'm like, now what? What am I to do? What's going to happen? So, as I started thinking that, suddenly I feel myself being pulled towards the earth. Now, is there some kind of weird connection with gravity and being a spirit, a ghost, a soul? All I know is I started being pulled more towards the earth. Before I knew it, the stars started flashing past me, forming into a tunnel. Now I felt like I was a shooting star, but heading towards the earth. As I get closer, the stars were just flashing past me so fast it formed like white lines or streaks, but yet in a tunnel. Before I knew it, everything went black.
I have a memory that I can't explain. I've looked for logical explanations, but none seem satisfactory to me. It first came to me when I was a child in bits and pieces, until one evening when a flood of detail returned all at once. It was Christmas time, and I stood there in my living room, dimly lit by only the lights of the Christmas tree. I looked to the mantel, and then to our large, rectangular picture window. Many times the impression that this window should be an oval had entered my mind. I was confused about why it wasn't. Now when I looked to the picture window, it became an oval again. I was in my mind's eye. So I turned my gaze toward where our kitchen should be. This too triggered a memory. There was a larger, more cavernous space of some kind here. It was bright, an impression of a large crowd. They were waiting for something. Now I was among them. I was waiting for my turn. My turn came, and I felt a great anxiety. But I stepped through the doorway and found myself in this space with the oval window. This darker space was somewhat formless and sparsely decorated. There were other beings here, much larger than I was, and their shape was like that of humans. They were like pure energy, sparkling and flowing. A large planet loomed directly outside. One stepped forward, very matter-of-factly raised one hand toward this planet, which I now recognized to be the Earth.
"This is where you are going,"
it said. I was now very afraid.
"I don't like it there."
"But it is your mission."
I became very upset, and he sensed this.
"All right. Wait a moment."
My guide walked over to his companions, who were of many varying colors. They stood in a circle and conferred with each other. I sensed no emotion from these beings. They were merely there to inform me. They felt like they were guides of some kind.
"It has been taken care of. You must trust us and go."
This is the entirety of what remains of this memory. When I was younger, I remembered great details of larger conversations. Every few years, the memory would resurface again, only foggier. I didn't want to lose it, so I began to tell people. And I also wrote it down. In around 2012, I finally searched the internet for pre-birth memories. Actually, I'd tried once or twice previously over the years, but never found anything. And this time, I found a very large archive. And I couldn't believe my eyes when a handful of them were almost perfectly similar to my own account. Sometimes these people were given a choice about what kind of life they could live, or who to be born to. I don't personally remember such choices anymore. Maybe they were there, maybe they weren't. I just remember I didn't want to go, and these guides arranged for a solution to make me feel more comfortable in my life. When I thought about it, the layout of my home, which my father had built some years earlier, resembled that space in many respects. It was as though they had instructed it to be built this way, so perhaps I would feel like I was in a familiar place when I was brought into this world. So what you've just seen and heard is a true account, as best as I can recall, of what I can only classify as a memory from a pre-mortal existence.
I remember being, I wouldn't call it a room, but in a place that had, it was dark for the most part, except for to the right of me was a very bright light. I was sitting, I believe, in front of what I would call a tunnel. If I looked down the tunnel, I knew that there was a life like this world. I almost want to say it's like a hospital, but I can't be sure. I remember sitting there and knowing that I have to go down this tunnel with this bright light to the right of me. The bright light was very loving, but very much an authoritative figure. I liken myself to about a human age of maybe 5 or 6. I remember being terrified. I did not want to leave there. I remember that I absolutely loved it and I didn't want to go. I also remember that I begged not to go. Through telepathy, there was no word spoken to this bright light. This light very lovingly just made it known that I didn't have a choice. And I knew that deep down, that I knew there wasn't any getting out of it, any way of getting out of it. So I can feel it. I still feel it. I feel like I was just so afraid. But for whatever reason was involved, I did not have a choice. I knew then that I had a mother and a father. I didn't know much about my father. I knew that my mother was very gentle, loving, and kind. And I think that's one of the only things that I held on to very tightly while I was still there, that I just knew that she was just going to be a loving person. I also knew that I had a sister and brother. I didn't know much about them. The only thing that I knew was that they were older than me. Pretty much quite a bit older than me, in a sense. But that's it. That's what I knew about my life. And again, the last memory I have there was trying to get out of coming here, and it wasn't going to happen.
I have a memory of before I was born. When it was time to be born, I was like with a group of people, I mean, spirits, souls, whatever we were, you know, I was with others. And we were getting ready to be born. We were getting ready to come down, and I remember I was like so excited. I was like way psyched. I was like, woohoo, I get to go, I get to go. I was so happy, you know. And I remembered that, you know, I had been on Earth before. One time I remembered. I don't know if that's, I can only say like the way I remembered and the things I was thinking of at that time. Because I remember, I mean, I don't have a big expansive memory of before I was born. I just remember this circumstance. And I remember being frustrated because the time that I was on Earth before, it was really boring, and I didn't get to do anything fun, and I was only a little girl. I died really young, and I was isolated. I don't know if I was from China or not, but I know I was a little fat Asian girl, and I wasn't allowed exercise, and I don't know if my feet were bound or something, but I couldn't exercise well. I couldn't run around or walk around or dance or whatever. So like, and I always had doctors coming and checking my feet. And the doctors told my family that they had to start letting me go outside and exercise more because I was getting too fat. So anyway, but I remember having a past life where I had been, you know, a little Asian girl, and I died at a young age during some kind of a like a firestorm attack where there was like explosions going on all around me, and I ended up getting killed. All right, so I was getting ready to come down to Earth again, and I was really enthusiastic about it. I was so excited about it because I mean, I was like, this time it's going to be fun, and I'm going to do cool stuff, and I was like, you know, I just couldn't wait to be born. But I was with this group of others who were also coming to be born, and I was definitely the most excited of everyone. Some of them were like really, really scared. Some of them were like dark and didn't want to go at all, and like they were frustrated about it, and some of them were just kind of like, okay, here we go, you know, like but not like me, man. I was like jumping up and down, and I was flying up in the trees, and I was supposed to be like staying with the group because we were going to like some, I don't know if it was like a processing center area or something like that. Okay, we were getting ready to go through like the process right before coming down to Earth, okay? And I was supposed to be with this group, but I was just like out of my mind joyful. And and we had like guides that were with us that were supposed to be like keeping track of us, and suddenly one of them came up to me and was like, they want to talk to you. And I was like, really? They want to talk to me? Like specifically, individually me? Like, really? Okay. And so we went to this place. And it's not like time the way it is here. It was like we went, and I waited till it was my turn, and then I went into this room, and there was like, they I don't know, I always called them they, which is why it really freaked me out when I heard Dolores Cannon and she was talking about them. And like, okay, because it's like, I always thought all my life I was like, is it God? Because it wasn't a he or a she, it was more like a them. So I was in this room, and they were arrayed before me, above me. Like I had to look up at them like this. And when they spoke, it was with one voice. And they were concerned. They were like, you need to take this more seriously. They were like, this could go very badly for you. And I was like, but it's gonna go so well I mean, like the good that I can do is just infinite, and I can't even believe this opportunity I'm being given to do so much good in this world. I was so excited, you know. And they were like, okay, but it could also go really bad. They were like, you know, and they explained some reasons why I can't specifically remember. And I was like, but you'll be there with me the whole time. And they were like, yeah, but it won't really be like that. You know, it's not going to be quite like we're there with you, you know. I mean, you know, I can't put it into words the way that they were reasoning with me. And I was like, fuck, I didn't come up with this. This was your idea. I just agreed to it, you know. So that's why sometimes people say that like volunteers that came to Earth that we like or like, I guess I'm one of those because apparently, I was in agreement. I agreed that I was going to come. It wasn't like somebody was forcing me. And others that were in the group when I was coming down, the others that were in the group, they weren't coming by choice. Some of them were being forced to, and those ones were like really agitated by my joy. And that's kind of, I think, why they separated me, because I was stressing people out. Or they weren't people yet, but like, they were stressed out and about my excitement, and that they were really scared and didn't want to come at all, and they were being forced, or like they didn't have a choice. It's not like they were being forced, because they were walking. They weren't like in chains or anything. They weren't walking, but they were moving forward of their own volition. Like, we weren't bodies. I don't know. I can't explain that part, but anyway, so. Sometimes I've heard stories of like that, oh, we chose our eye color and we chose our race and we chose our families and yada, yada, yada. And it wasn't like that for me, because I feel like that they had a specific course. It's kind of like when a director has a script written, and they say, like they need people to fulfill each role. So like I volunteered to fulfill this particular role and to meet certain requirements that were needed to be met, and to do certain things that needed to be done. Like they had to have someone come and be me. And I agreed. I said, yes, I'll do that. And so like when I'm in front of them, I'm in this room and I'm in front of them, and I'm like, I'm trying not to swear in this video. Like, I didn't make this up. I didn't say I wanted to face these challenges. You offered this to me, and I just said, yes, I'll do it. And I was like, and that was when I said, and you'll be there with me the whole time. And when I said you'll be there with me the whole time, that was when they were like, okay. And then they like decided they were going to have a separate conversation away from me. So the guide that was guiding me said, okay, come here. We will wait for their decision. And we went off into a place. I mean, it was just darkness. I don't know how long I was there, but the guide was with me. And, I don't know how long it was that I was there waiting, because it wasn't like here where when they put you in a waiting room, you're like, dum, 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 and you're waiting and you're impatient and you just, it wasn't like that. It was just, existing. And then suddenly there was vision again, and I couldn't even understand what was said. Like, I couldn't understand what was said. I was there before them again, and they interacted with my guide, and it was very fast. And then my guide was like, okay, come on. And it was like really fast, that all of a sudden they were like, the guide was like, it's time to go. And I was like, what are we? And they were like, you're going. And I was like, I'm going? Okay. And then I just went. And the thing is that I never went back to the processing place. Like, I never went back to, like, I think that's why but I mean, now after the fact that I've thought about it a lot, and after knowing about Dolores Cannon and what she said, I came to this conclusion, and after that I stopped listening to her, because I don't want to come to any more conclusions from the things she says. But my conclusion is that because I didn't go through the normal processing, that's why I remember that. That's my guess. That's why I remember the decision-making process and coming straight, because I came straight from that room with them to be born on Earth and be alive.
So now that we have no darkness to carry along in this lifetime, let's find out a little bit about why you came to this Earth this time around. What was your purpose? I'd like for you to go now to the moment where you were planning this incarnation. I'm going to count from 5 back to 1. Touch your forehead and you will be in the planning stages with those planning your life. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Be there now. Look around you. Describe to me where you are.
I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge fence.
There's a huge fence.
Yeah, it's inside. It's okay. It's bright. There is light, and it looks like I'm just looking toward the gate. Very high gates. I don't like to be there.
Tell me what this place is. Why are you here today?
It feels to be the first incarnation place or machine or something.
The forced incarnation machine.
I don't want to go back. Why they keep sending me back?
Let's be fun. Take me with you and tell me what happened.
I don't want to go back. I don't even want to go to the meeting. I don't.
Tell me where this meeting is.
Somewhere in the center, like a dome, right? And I said I'm not going to the meeting enough.
Why is it that you need to go to the meeting? What is your role in this place? What do you do there?
They would tell me what to do for the next life. And I don't agree. I think it's useless. I'm not under a mistake. I'm not supposed to be there. It's like a prison and I don't want to be there. I'm not supposed to be there.
How did you get to this place where the dome is? Do you live here?
No. Trapped somewhere. They got me somewhere and they brought me there.
All right.
Where they got me, it was somewhere in the universe.
Who took you to this place?
Okay.
Let's go back and find out where you were and who trapped you.
I don't know because they make me forget.
They make you forget. Well, we're going to now go to the point before you forget. I'm going to count from 3 to 1, and you're going to go back before you were at this place. 3, 2, and 1. Be there now. Be where you were before they took you. Where are you?
In the void?
In the void.
But how can they access the void?
Let's find out.
They're not supposed to be there.
All right, let's find out what you're doing in the void and how you're feeling in that void.
I do not feel anything, just be.
Just
so
be.
natural.
All right, very good. So as you're in that void, I want you to do frame by frame. Catch it between frames and see how they get through to the void.
I don't know, but I know that I was wondering. In the void, so maybe my wonder opened a little opening for them.
Now take a look and see. You have the power. You understand how this works. How did you allow them to come in through the void? Watch it in slow motion. What happened?
I think I was wondering how Gaia Sophia is doing.
And with that thought?
Yeah, that's what opened.
All right. So
So I connected. Okay, I wasn't supposed to do that in the void.
You were supposed to do what in the void?
I wasn't supposed to
be creating, manifesting.
I didn't know that I am creating or manifesting, but I know I wasn't supposed to be wondering.
So now, who came? Who came through that void?
Colors, they were like more brown, and then different shades of brown until it gets dark black. So I think what I saw first, it was kind of a beige brown.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going, and it's getting darker and darker.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I realized it's black, it was too late.
You were already within it?
Yeah.
You were captured within that darkness?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And where did they take you next? Allow yourself to see the journey. Where did you go?
Yeah, he said, I got you back. You cannot go anywhere.
Was this the same one?
Yes. He's a family member.
Okay.
But it's okay now. I don't have any bad feeling. It's okay. He was just playing his role. His role was to be dark. And I don't know if I choose or it looks like I didn't choose. I was tricked since the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got it. I didn't choose to help. Oh, so who was convincing me that I did? No, the truth is I did never choose to be part of the darkness. I was tricked.
Let's find out why you fell for that trick. What did you need from that darkness? What did you feel that you were going to gain?
It looks like I got bored.
You got bored. So the darkness seemed like a little bit more exciting?
At least, I didn't know if it was to be exciting or not, but at least it looked to be different from the white.
Okay.
Oh, because, yeah, where it was all white. And,
a little boring for you?
It looks like.
So let's find out where you went after they captured you. Where did they take you?
To this place, the incarnation thing. It's like a jail, prison, huge. And they always were warning us, if you try to get out over the fence or the gate, bad stuff will happen to you. You get hurt and we'll catch you. Oh, that's what they're saying. We'll catch you, you cannot go anywhere. We'll bring you back anyway.
Now this place where you go, is it a planet? Or is it a place?
It's just a place.
It's just a place.
It's just a place. And that's why I always look toward the fence, even though it's huge and tall, but I feel there's a way out, but I cannot figure it out.
Now in this place, do you have a body?
Seems to be something between beige and brown, like a body.
All right. How is it that you cannot climb this fence?
Because they're saying so.
Ah. So if you tried to climb the fence, you probably could.
I don't know if I tried once they brought me back or if it's...
All right, so let's follow it. Let's not make any assumptions. I'd like for you to follow it and see what happens once you go into that place. I'm right here with you.
When you get on top of it and you look, it's only dark and empty, and it's very scary.
What does it look like in there?
Yeah, if you look the outside of it, it's a very bad feeling.
What does it look like from the outside?
Deep and black and deep. You don't want to go there. Probably that prison, that jail is less horrible. Yeah.
And when you go inside of this dome place?
I told them I don't want to go.
Okay. What happens?
I don't know.
Let's find out. Allow yourself to be there now. Where are you?
I don't know if I sat for the meeting or not, but I know that at uterus, when I was still in my mom's belly, I was so scared. Scared, and I don't know why. But I saw okay, we already showed her this, and at the beginning she wasn't sure if she was scared or if her mom was scared or she was mixed, but after that she realized that she was scared, and we showed her on the soul. Oh yeah, okay. So one soul has to go in this body, and we sent another one to free her. We showed her only one. She saw sparkle of light. Yeah, she always knew that this sparkle of light is from God. That's why she always was connected to God and the Prime Creator. You know, and this sparkle, we helped her to see it come in and going straight to the heart of the fetus of her. Even though when she sees studies of people talking about the soul coming through the head, she just laughed and said, "No, I know. I saw my soul coming to the heart."
Now you said 2 souls.
Yeah.
Tell me about these 2 souls.
One has to be there because it comes from when she was forced. And even her, that explained a little bit. Oh, okay, that answers one of her questions. Okay. So she doesn't want to come back. She said that it's nonsense and not going. They threw her there. Okay, so they threw her in a family, big number family, and a little bit poor people. I think it's to make her suffer more. And then she will not have enough love and attention because it's a big family. But I think they made a mistake. There were a lot of love in there. And we sent the other soul to help free her. But anyway, the other big soul cannot be in a human being anyway. So she needed this incarnation. She needed to come back anyway. Whether she wanted. Yeah, that's explained why her mom wasn't expecting her at that time. It's not that it wasn't 9 months, it was, but she wasn't expecting her. And she was alone, and the baby she was almost coming out when her mom was standing up. The mom didn't even realize how the baby is coming out. Her sister came visit her without any appointment. Probably she just has a feeling that she has to go to see her. And she helped with the birth of the baby. And
so is that why she has 2 birth dates?
It looks like, yes. So one
when she was born and the other one when she was registered?
Yes. So just to remind her so many things. There's a lot in it, and she can figure it out by herself.
Okay.
There's a lot. Even for her, she was always wondering why I cannot even know what's my horoscope, if it's Aries or is it Taurus. But now she get the answer. The first part of her life was more Taurus, earth to earth. Now this part of her life is Aries, more fiery, door, go get it, and non-stoppable. She's the leader. That's who she really is. But the second one, 2 days after, that was just a human thing. A human needs to be registered, so I want to register her.
So this soul that she has, the one that didn't want to be here. Now, it seems that she needed to be here anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So even if they were forcing her to be here, was Prime Creator in agreement with this?
Prime Creator.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing could happen without his agreement.
That's right. So it seems to me that it's almost the same thing as when Mother Sophia thought that, or she thought that Mother Sophia, she was putting all this darkness on her, and Mother Sophia was like, not a big deal. So is Prime Creator kind of laughing at these beings that brought her back?
Yes.
Thinking that it was their idea, but it was Prime Creator's idea anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Now she's getting it more clear.
Mm-hmm. So let's find out what the real clear purpose is now from Prime Creator. What was Prime Creator's reason for her having to incarnate?
He loves her in a special way.
Mm-hmm.
Very special. I don't know when it is, but it's a very special connection.
Mm-hmm.
Very loving. It's okay. He's saying, "Yeah, I love you all you are all my kids," but he said that is still a special thing.
Mm-hmm. So what is it that she needed to come here for? She didn't want to be here. She was crying that she didn't want to come. What role?
She wasn't crying. She was really frightened.
Oh, she was frightened.
And she stood up and she said, "No, I'm not going to the meeting. I'm not. I don't know how they throwed her down, but I mean they did. Whatever." So yeah, no, she's very stubborn.
She's stubborn. So
yeah.
It wasn't a crying thing. It was a digging her heels down and saying, "This is not happening."
Enough. Oh yeah, I know now. Yeah, because she started remembering a little bit who she is. Oh yes,
right.
She started remembering a little bit that they cannot force her, so they just throw her down.
Okay. And what kind of machine is this that they throw people down?
Okay, I want to tell you something before the machine.
Yes.
It's the little soul needed anyway to deal with things from previous lives, and we took care of all of it.
Wonderful.
And we keep telling her, don't create more karma. Even though karma is not don't create more karma in this lifetime. Even though karma is not what we were taught. We were told that if you do something, you have to pay for it. It's not exactly this way. Yes, you have to, because that's the universal law and no one can go against them. But I mean, if you do something wrong to someone, you can go ask for forgiveness, or you can pay for it. I'm not saying like pay amount of money, but do something to fix it. If I broke your window, I'll go buy new glass and bring glass and glue, and I'm going to fix it for you. Or if I broke it and I really, really cannot, I don't have I cannot do it for any reason, I would ask you to forgive me, and I would explain why, and that's it. Then I'm free.
So what did this little soul do in this lifetime to clear up all her karma?
Oh, okay. So we cleared the karma, but it still needs to be there to keep her on Earth, on Gaia, because the big soul cannot exist without it, and as well the smaller soul can more appreciate and love Gaia's things. Like she loves the sunshine, she loves the beach, she loves birds, she loves. The little soul can appreciate them, and the bigger soul has different stuff to deal with.
Good. Very good.
Yeah, and now if you go back to your question about the incarnation machine, force actually. Okay, a long time ago, the dark energy took hold of many souls. Very few were able to escape. Big part of her soul escaped away. Just this fractal they were able to capture, So they captured many souls and they recycled them, and they told them that that's the way things work. That's how God wants it to be, and you have to go back to fix things. But at the end, they send people back together, more karma and more suffering. In most cases, there are people who can get out of it, but most people, they go back. And when they go back in this machine, the darkness keep like its food safe, like we the bank food, food bank for so this is what it is. And they are using fake or tricked angels, guides and stuff. Oh, that's why now she doesn't want to meditate, because she doesn't want to connect to them. Okay, even if she convinced herself to be a good girl and meditate, we take her away. Yeah, okay, so that's why.
So who are the ones that are masquerading as fake? How do they masquerade?
Okay, mixed. Some of them, they come from the lower realms, and some of them they're tricked. They don't know.
They're tricked and they don't know?
Yeah.
So how do you identify one that is masquerading?
Oh, now we don't need to identify, we don't need to think, we don't need to do anything. Go straight to Prime Creator. He knows what to do. He will send whatever help you need.
Yes.
Yeah. Go straight to Prime Creator.
When I tell people to follow that light within their heart.
That's a beautiful light. Yes, that's the light. That's the one we show her. She loves it. Since we showed it to her, I think 2 or 3 years ago, that was one of the things that helped her a lot, to know that she had this book from God.
Yes.
It was always there, but we needed to show it to her, because if she exited this life prematurely, she was automatically to go back to the fourth incarnation machine. This is what I wanted to happen. This is what was their plan.
So now that she's seen that spark within her light, that light within her heart, she's connected now with Prime Creator, with Source.
Or she's connected more than ever.